So colleagues, it was important to really feel like we were in that writing workshop and head back, but to honor your time, I am going to cut our writing time a little bit short right now. And we are going to debrief this as teachers. So Amy, would it be okay if I just debrief the content really quick first?
Yes.
And then you're facilitating the debriefing of the mini lesson?
We'll take a break.
Then we'll take a break? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, really quick. So you'll notice as we model mini lessons, and as many of you teach mini lessons, we're always refining that craft. And you'll notice that I didn't do a call and response. In fact, when a couple people wanted to ask questions, I got people to work before I went and addressed that. And another thing is that the dash in the standard is only one of 3 ways that we are in 8th grade expecting students to try this inserting extra information. It's dash, commas, and ellipses. And the standard doesn't go into any information about when you would use one versus the other. So, you're going to learn more about this tomorrow, and it's on the back of your folder if you're kind of one of those folks that like to read ahead. But today's lesson was intended to be an example of an apprenticeship mini lesson, where we are looking at mentor texts and learning from those authors. We did that with 4 different texts. And because of technology, we were able to get that kind of volume and fluency of texts. Now, I think that one way this could go, if this were my 8th grade classroom, is that I would be really explicit to have them look for dash, because dash was what we did in narrative, and stick with that very clear thing. But then I would listen for students to think about other ways that would go, or look for that in their writing. And one of my students, who is above and beyond, actually named, there's parentheses too. Isn't that a way that that would head off? And I would use that as an inquiry piece, and we would add to that chart. So as I was making that chart, I knew that we would add to dash, and I thought, how do I space that? Okay, so it's just not going to be perfect. I'm going to add it with sticky notes, or I'm going to add it with a new color. As we discover together that there are other ways authors do that, not just with dash, but like the standard says, also with commas, and also with ellipses, okay? So that's kind of like how I was planning. I was almost planning for the inquiry that if it doesn't happen in the classroom, I'm going to make it happen during a mid-workshop teaching point. And we're going to have a conference. And oh, guess what? Rose did this. Oh, my goodness. We were talking together. And we found, because I think it's important that we're doing this in a lot of different ways. Yeah, okay, so it could have been 3 mini lessons. Let's do it in one way because that's the same content, and then just grow from there. Okay? I just need to name that. It was a lot of planning to decide what to do and where in the unit to do it. But that's what you're going to be doing today. So,
the part that we're going to do next is crucial. It's essential. If you did not pick up your paper copy of Erin's mini lesson, do that, or raise your hand and Jen will bring that around. Everybody will need a paper copy of Erin's from today and Jen's from yesterday. If you happen to take it home, you can get it on the Google Docs, which you can get to from the bit.ly. Or you can get to just from Google Docs under the For Everyone folder. So you want to have both of those mini lessons available. And you want to have the inside of your folder that says mini lesson criteria. Mini lesson criteria. And that's on the inside of the folder that you received that had all your papers in it the first day. It is in very small print to get it on that page. So if you can get it electronically and make it bigger, go ahead and do that, whatever works for you. I actually had to get out a magnifying glass the other day, and it was like, oh my gosh, now I'm not just my mother, I'm my grandmother. But I've noticed that print is getting smaller. I mean, I think I have some evidence for that. I could write an argument paragraph about that. So, this piece is crucial. We have done mini lesson writing in the context I first did it with a group of teachers in the context of writing workshop. The very first year we ever did writing workshop. And so we decided to add some additional mini lessons to a unit, and these were outstanding teachers. These were the ones who stepped forward, you know, the brave pioneers, out the chute first kind of people. When I got those mini lessons back to my desk and read them, I actually cried. We really hadn't talked about what makes a good mini lesson. And as in anything else, I think what we tend to do is we tend to go back to what we've done before. So we ended up with lessons that looked like they came out of a box instead of really followed the pattern of a mini lesson. So we have refined and refined and refined our understanding. Erin created a document writing precise and powerful mini lessons, and I think Erin and Jen then put that into this form. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the criteria for a mini lesson, and then we're going to look at Erin and Jen's mini lessons and see examples of where we find that. We're going to notice and name what we find. And thankfully, we're not vetting mine because you don't get mine until tomorrow, because I don't finish it until tonight. Because this morning I changed it. I went, oh my goodness. So my mini lesson is going to be a mid-workshop teaching point because we haven't had an example of that yet. So, and it's going to be at second grade levels, so it will not be quite as intellectually challenging. I appreciate that. So, this is the criteria, and as you write, here's a place where you can check when completed. 8 to 12 minutes from connection to link, although I thought of this later. I didn't time Erin's lesson. I'm sure because the text we were reading was longer, that mini lesson part was probably longer than that. So you have to adjust that based on what you're doing in there. Sometimes your mini lessons will go longer, but if they consistently go longer, the kids will quit listening to us. I mean, that's what I found. If I can guarantee to my kids that when you come up to this carpet with me, I'm not going to keep you any longer than 8 to 10 minutes, then I have them. And I watched it happen in, my goodness, I went through a coaching workshop in New York City, and we went first day into a 6th grade classroom in Manhattan in this class. Oh my goodness. I would have had to lose weight or something because, or only confer with the kids around the edge of the room because the tables were so tight I couldn't get in between. That's how tight it was. But still they kept a little spot and they pulled those kids in close and did that mini lesson. So we really want to keep this short. Some teachers, I was in a classroom coaching a teacher who set a timer for herself. And she told her kids, I'm setting a timer, because I'm going to make sure that my talking is short so your writing can be long. So this is our goal. And in the connection, what's it do? It connects with previous writing lessons. So here's our criteria. Begins with a specific reminder of previous learning. So go to the connection part of Erin's and Jen's, and tell your neighbor, how did they connect to previous learning? Oops, that's on a background. So what did Jen say that connected to the previous learning? We've been writing our personal narratives, small moment stories. Yes.
Also linking them back to the mentor text they're familiar with?
Yes. Linking them back to that mentor text, so grounding them in that positive example of what we want it to look like. She also gave them a picture of where they were in the process. We're now in, I think she names revision, and says that, and kind of defines that as we're going to make our writing better. And Erin, what does Erin do that goes back to in her connection, that goes back to the previous lesson? Yesterday we made choices about structure. Today we're going to make choices in our punctuation. And she references back to the last unit. One of the things I'm seeing as I'm in classrooms is how transferable the skills and the strategies are from one text type to another. A good lead is a good lead, whether that's a lead into a narrative or a lead into an opinion argument piece or a lead into an informational piece. So connecting us to what we already know, and I know already I'm going to do that tomorrow. Then often, connect the new learning to what's been taught already. We might tell a scenario which is less likely to happen here because we don't have our kids, but for you, to demonstrate the work we will do based on, now Jen used a mentor author, as did Erin, but not in her connection. But you may bring up right then and there, or you may have some student writing, a student that wrote forward, and you bring that in and show that as an example. Or you can use a metaphor, which I rarely do because I'm not very good about that. But we have this wonderful metaphor from a colleague of ours, Tia Peterson, who said when she was talking about kids stopping and paying attention in their reading, she used the metaphor of walking down the hall to the library and getting so busy talking and interacting that they walk right by the library. And sometimes in our reading, we read right by and aren't paying attention. So some people are better at that than others. So this is what I'd like you to do. Oh, then it ends with the teaching point. And we see that in Erin's, the teaching point is right here. That's the style that we see in some of the MESA units, and any of you who's using the new Calkins units, they're very clear to do that now. And in Jen's, it comes at the beginning of the teach.
So should
Yes.
Should that be actually moved to the end of the connect?
I think as long as it's real clear where it is, either place, but in the past they were inconsistent in Calkins, and there was then a move to try to put it right at the end, because we want to say that teaching point 5 to 6 times minimum during the mini lesson in the same words. I used to think I was being a creative teacher if I said my teaching point 5 or 6 ways. Well, my kids didn't realize I was saying the same thing. They thought I was saying 5 or 6 different things. And again, from watching other teachers, I realized I need to say it the same way. So if I state it there and they know it's always going to be there, and I'm going to state it probably several times during my teach, and definitely when I debrief the teaching, I'm going to say it in the active engagement pre and post when I ask them to do it, and I'm going to say it again in the link. One of the things that I currently do, and I'm going to try to remember to do tomorrow, is to put my teaching point on sentence strip and make that a cumulative poster so that all my teaching points from the writing unit are on the chart, and I write it in learning target, student-friendly learning target, language. So really, what it helps, I hope it helps the kids, but it helps me when I'm conferring, because I can glance up to that list. Anything that I have taught is fair game to name to the students that they're doing or to teach nudge into. So it functions for me, and I hope it functions for them. And I do see them referencing it. So I think that's the point. So what I'd like you to do is go through the rest of this mini lesson criteria. You can do this with a partner, talk it through, find examples in Jen's and Erin's lessons. Go ahead, have that conversation.